The Seventh Tower by Garth Nix. Book 5. Into Battle. Chapter 15. The suit of armor didn't open. It blew apart. Thousands of red-hot shards flew in all directions, falling into the lake like strange hail. One fell near Tal's foot. He could feel the heat from it even through the ash and crystal. Adris didn't spring up into the air as Tal had planned. He stayed where he was until the last flaming fragment of the armor fell to earth. "Lokar didn't tell me it would do that," croaked Tal. His mouth had gotten suddenly dry. "What if I'd been standing next to someone?"
"They'd be very cross,"
replied Adris. He was slowly billowing out to his full size. "I hope nothing noticed." Tal looked around. The surface of the lake was still, and there was no sign of any activity off in the lit-up areas. Adris launched out of the ash and floated above Tal's head. He didn't look any the worse for having supplied breathing air for several hours, or for being compressed in the suit of armor, but he was clearly much happier to be out. Tal held up his arms and winced even before Adris grabbed him. For some reason, the Storm Shepherd knew only one shoulder-dislocating technique for picking Tal up. Cloudy hands met around Tal's wrists, and the expected savage jerk came. For a few seconds, Tal's legs trailed in the ash, bringing unpleasant images of fishing expeditions and brightly colored lures. Then Adris rose higher, and Tal came free. "Don't get too high," cautioned Tal as they rose up to 40 or 50 stretches above the lake. The moon was bright enough to cast a shadow from a flying Storm Shepherd and the Chosen Boy dangling beneath him. Tal watched the shadow flicker across the lake. It was strange to think that here in Einir, shadows were only ever dark reflections, and nothing more. The Empress's island looked peaceful enough by moonlight. Looking down at it, Tal could see that most of the place was taken up by carefully ordered gardens. There were statues spread among the gardens, and several pools of what must be real water, silver in the moonlight. Off on the southern side there was an L-shaped house, its windows mostly dark. It was roofed with crystal tiles that had to be sprinkled with sunstones, for they twinkled in different colors rather than reflecting the moonlight. In front of the house there was a courtyard covered by a canopy of crystal leaves. There were sunstones shining brightly under that canopy, but Tal couldn't see what they illuminated. It all looked very pretty and comfortable. But there must also be guards of some sort, Tal thought. He would have to evade them, and somehow get enough time to tell the Empress of the danger Sushin presented, of the threat to the Veil and the whole dark world. Adris glided down as instructed and set Tal down on the very edge of the island. The landing was as gentle as could be expected, which meant that Tal fell over. He was surprised to find that he had landed on soft grass. As he got up, he saw that it grew right up to the lake shore and the ash. No normal grass would do that. It felt normal enough, though, just like the lawns in the garden caverns of the castle. There was a path not far away. Tal cautiously crossed the grass to it and studied it before he stepped onto it. It was made of bricks, but not normal ones. These were violet crystal and had sunstone fragments suspended in them. As his foot came down, the bricks under it sparkled, but nothing sinister happened. Adris hovered in the air behind Tal.
"Something smells funny,"
whispered the Storm Shepherd.
"Oily."
Tal sniffed the air, but couldn't smell anything oily. All he could smell was the fresh scent of grass and the pleasant perfume of the flowers that grew on the tall bushes ahead. Tal walked along the path for a while. It looked like it circumnavigated the island. Other paths ran off it into the interior. One of them headed in the direction of the house. Tal took it. He walked a little slower as the path headed between two overhanging flower bushes. Something about the whole place made him uneasy. Perhaps it was the moonlight, he thought. It made everything look creepy. He took a few more steps before he realized what it was. There was a light breeze blowing from behind his back, but the bushes were leaning toward him. Tal stopped and looked at them. They were taller than he was, big bushes with broad clusters of green leaves. Both had 2 large red flowers about 2/3 of the way up. "They're only plants," Tal said aloud. "Only plants." But he didn't walk toward them. As he watched, first one flower, then another, slowly swiveled to face him. Then, with a horrible sucking sound, both bushes lifted their roots out of the ground and glided forward, rustling. The roots they moved on were sharp and pointed, more like multiple talons than anything else. Tal backed away, but he had only gone a few paces when Adris said,
"Uh-oh."
Tal looked behind. 2 of the statues he'd seen from the air were coming down the path. They were humanoid, a little larger than an adult chosen, and made of the same golden metal as the rune ship. As they closed in, Tal noticed the oily smell Adris had mentioned before. They moved like Tal and Adris in the chromatic armor, slowly and clumsily. "Time to fly," said Tal, reaching up his arms. Adris swooped down and grabbed him, and this time it really hurt, because Tal's feet wouldn't leave the path. He looked down and saw strands of violet wrapping themselves around his ankles, forming shackles of light. The flower creatures glided forward, piercing roots questing ahead of them. The statues shuddered up behind, their massive fists rising and falling. "Let go! I'm stuck! Try to hold them off!" Adris let go. Instantly, Tal focused on his sunstone. If he could make a violet key, he could unlock the shackles on his ankles. Thanks to Lokar, he had some idea of what he had to do. But could he do it before the statues clubbed him down or the flower creatures stabbed him?